What's happening, everyone? My name is James Lynch, and this is the Fanatics View Hockey Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys have any questions, post them in the chat. I'll get to every single one of them during this stream. Sorry I'm a little bit late today, but some good news, and you guys will see this here sooner. I am finalizing some NHL interviews, going to be coming up with some legends of the sport. Don't want to mention any names just yet, but keep an eye out on the Fanatics View channel on Friday. I should be having some interviews up on here. I'm really excited about that. I was just actually finalizing that before I hopped on here. So yeah, I'll have a little bit more details on that as well. Maybe I'll even put a community post in once things are confirmed here. But a lot of action last night in the NHL. Before we get into all the action from last night, as I usually do on this show, actually, we only had 2 games last night, let's be honest here. There wasn't a ton going on, but want to definitely talk about some of the content we got up here on the channel from last night. You know, obviously, well, spoiler alert. I mean, I guess you know what we'll do. We'll get into the scores first because there's just 2 games, and we'll go into that, and then we'll get to everything else here. So you can see there, the Vancouver Canucks getting a big win yesterday over the Boston Bruins. I've seen mixed reviews on this game where, you know, Vancouver not getting a lot of offense there. If you look at Jeremy Swayman, just needing to make 13 saves on the night. Sorry, 13 saves on 14 shots. And on the other end, the Boston Bruins, 32 shots on Kevin Lankinen getting the shutout last night. You know what? I look at this game 2 ways. The Canucks could have played a lot better, but they are shorthanded. They're still missing JT Miller. And also, they are, just had Brock Besser back in the lineup. They're still kind of waiting to see how this team's going to look with a full lineup. So I cut them a bit of slack, not to mention they're on the road, all this different stuff. But I thought they played really well defensively. A lot of blocked shots, a lot of good defense. I like some of the pairings that Rick Tocchet went with last night. So the big thing there is that they got the win, and they are now 11-6 on the season. The Bruins dropping to 10-10. The Bruins, the effort was there. They could have definitely won it, I think, but the Canucks doing a good job of shutting them out. So that is why the Bruins ended up losing last night. And how about Kevin Lankinen, one of the best pickups in the offseason? He's making league minimum right now, and he's playing like a top 10 goaltender in the NHL. So Canucks are very happy to have that, obviously. And Jake DeBrusk getting a bit of revenge against his former team, scoring the lone goal. Connor Garland getting the empty netter and also getting an assist on that first goal as well. So big win there for the Vancouver Canucks. And the Bruins losing for the first time under Joe Sacco, their new coach. Since the last time we did this show, Jim Montgomery fired, Joe Sacco in. We'll talk about what's next for Jim Montgomery in a second here as well. But the Canucks getting the win last night on the score sheet. The other game that went on last night, the Utah Hockey Club coming back and getting the win against Montreal. They win in overtime. Utah now coming up to 9-10-3. Dylan Gunther, beautiful goal last night off that one-timer. That was really nice. If you haven't seen that goal, go check it out. Nick Schmaltz, 2 assists. And Carl Vilmeka not needing to be too busy throughout the night. Look at this, just 13 shots on net from Montreal. They got to do a better job of that. On the other end, Sam Montembeault made some really key saves last night, but ultimately not enough to get the win. So that's where Montreal now falling to 7-11-3. Not a lot of expectations for Montreal this season. They're still in a bit of rebuild mode. So with all that said, on the channel, we got a bunch of stuff here. A lot of Canucks post-game stuff that you can see on there. Interviews with Rick Tocchet and Kevin Lankinen. Rick Tocchet also giving an update on Thatcher Demko, when we might be seeing him. There's also been some updates on JT Miller and when he might be able to come back to the lineup. So a lot of things going on there, so make sure you check that out. And then we got a bunch of other stuff on this channel too. Macklin Celebrini, of course, the star player for the San Jose Sharks. Some post-game stuff from the other day. Paul Maurice, some more Canucks pre-game stuff. You got the Predators, Utah, Florida. Beauty thing about being on this channel is you got everything in one spot, which is really great. So lots of stuff going on there. Let's get to your questions here quickly, and then we'll move on to everything else. Rangers don't need to panic yet. Yes, I've completely forgot. Thank you for reminding me of what this entire show theme is about, because I was like picking a theme before the games happen, because obviously I do the shell of this the day before. There's been some talks, Elliot Friedman reporting that, I believe it's Friedman, let me go check that quote out, that the Rangers are maybe looking to make a trade right now. They've, their last couple games have not gone so well. Let's have a quick look at what they've been up to. So if you look at the New York Rangers and their schedule, I mean, tonight's a tough outing as well. They're playing the Hurricanes. I do see they're underdogs. We'll talk about that game in a sec. But you look at it there, since Sunday, basically, they've lost 3 in a row, right? So they lose to the Flames on that road trip. They lose again to the Oilers. I watched that Oilers game. That was not pretty at all in that game. Granted, they had Jonathan Quick in net. I do wonder why they went with him. Maybe because the Oilers have not been that great this season, but Quick did not play well. Granted, that's not really his fault because the Rangers just didn't generate a lot of offense. Look at this. Quick having to make 34 saves on 40 shots, while on the other end with the Oilers, 32 shots, which is good. But early in this game, the Rangers barely had any shots. Like, they weren't the same Rangers team we're used to. So that was probably what sort of led to the panic. And then the Blues obviously destroying them on Monday, 5-2. And the Blues are not a playoff team right now. It doesn't look like it anyways. So that's something as well that you have to keep in mind when it comes to, them losing. Like, it definitely contributes to it. So let me find the quote here for what they were saying. I think it was Elliot Friedman who was talking about the Rangers and getting some trades going. What else do we have here? Yeah, I'm seeing a couple articles here on this as well, but they're just talking about, do they need to make a move? And anyways, long story short, I don't think the Rangers need to make a panic move yet. I mean, they've been trying to move some of these contracts for a while. Chris Kreider, Jacob Trouba. I know obviously Trouba's their captain, but there are some players that are not playing up to the value of their contract, not to mention they're going to have to re-sign Shesterkin. So, I don't think there's a need to make a move now, and I don't know if there's any teams that are going to be any suitors for the Rangers either. That's the other thing we got to think about is, who's going to take some of these players? What are they going to end up getting? So we'll see what they decide to do. There's a few teams struggling right now. Are they going to be making any moves? You look at like a Pittsburgh or Nashville, any of these teams, some of the teams that we've talked about on here. We'll see sort of which way they decide to go. But I don't think the Rangers need to panic right now. It's a couple losses. Overall, let's look at the standings. The Rangers are, I think they're fifth right now, if I'm not mistaken. That's what I remember from yesterday. So if you look at the conference right now, yeah, they're in fifth place. No reason to panic right now. This is a team that was at the top for a while, but I don't think we need to do that. Not getting too much in return for Kreider, especially not for help this year. I completely agree. Could maybe get a better return for Trouba. Possibly, but you got to remember as well, Trouba kind of plays that game right on the line. I mean, that's a liability for penalties and all that. So how much is, let's look at their contracts, actually. That would be a good start to see kind of what they'd be able to get. Because it's one thing they want to acquire those players. It's another thing to get cap space. And one of the things we talk about a lot on here is a lot of teams don't have cap space. So if you look at the Rangers right now, looking at the full roster breakdown, Chris Kreider coming in at 6.5. He's 33 though. That's the problem. A little bit older than maybe what you would want. So, is there going to be a lot of, I mean, obviously you get a phenomenal player, but also someone that's still tied up for a couple more seasons. Is that really worth it at 6.5? I mean, 6.5 isn't, it's not like it's a reasonable number. I could see teams biting on it, but then you got to worry about, he'll be 36 by the time the deal's done. Is that really going to go, is that really going to pan out for them? And then if you look at Trouba, Trouba's $8 million. Is he really worth that? He's 30, but again, I've said this before, players over 30 are a bit of a liability. Unless they're good, skaters, I think, because you don't lose good skating, but certain players do lose, skill a little bit. So we'll see. Again, these are not cheap contracts, so I can't see, anyone really wanting to do that. Toronto media really trying to convince themselves that Crosby will go to the Leafs. Yeah, that's not happening. How would that even work? Like, let's look at the Leafs cap space situation right now. Like, they barely have any cap space. They'd have to trade. What are they going to trade? Like Mitch Marner? They've got $1.5 million in cap space. Like, who would they even be able to trade here? You trade a Mitch Marner at $10 million. Knowing that you might not be able to re-sign him. I don't know. Look at all the IR, though. They got a lot of injured players right now. And they got to sign Matthew Nyes as well. He's going to get a nice raise, too. So, yeah, that's not happening. But, I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh right now, they have $1.9 million in cap space. Does Crosby leave? I know Crosby's loyal to the team. And then we did a whole show dedicated to the Penguins a few weeks ago. Does he want to be part of a rebuild? Because that's basically what they're going to have to do. This is not a playoff team. They don't have the goaltending. They don't have the defense. They don't have a team that is built for the playoffs at all. And even if you got in the playoffs, they're not a team that's built to go very far in the playoffs either. They need you to rebuild. There's no question about it. You could fire Sullivan. You could do all these different things. It's not going to change the fact that this is not a team that is, heading to the promised land anytime soon. So, you know what? If I'm Crosby, I think it would be a favor to Crosby to trade him at this point. And, you not only get, obviously Crosby's declined a bit, but not even that. You get the leadership. To have Sidney Crosby on any team would be great. So, but again, it's the issue of cap space. Even though 8.7 is not terrible, how many teams got the cap space to take on a Sidney Crosby? You'd have to take money back. So, yeah, Pittsburgh is I think Pittsburgh, to me, the two most interesting teams in terms of player movement are Pittsburgh and Nashville right now, because I think both kind of are in that spot where I think a rebuild might make sense at this point. So we'll see. Back to back, no. Back to back with With what? Sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. Sturkin has like 300 saves versus Calgary too. Oh, you're saying back to back with Quick starting against Edmonton. Yeah, I guess so. I just I don't know. Edmonton's I know Edmonton's not playing that well this year, but they're also a very lethal team, and it certainly looked like that. I mean, maybe the Rangers knew. They're like, look, we're out of steam. Like, we're probably going to lose this game anyways. Let's just give Jonathan Quick some a start here. That could have been the thinking as well. So we'll see. Shesterkin had like 300 saves versus Calgary. I agree. They also had 4 games in hand on New Jersey. That's true. I think he'll stay. He doesn't need to chase a cup like Ray Bourque. That's true. But I mean, they're really in a rebuild right now. Like, it's not even like, take a team like St. Louis, for example. St. Louis, I think, is a borderline playoff team, right? If we go look at the roster right now, where is even St. Louis in the standings? Let's have a quick look. I mean, the reason I bring them up is because, like, if you were on like so St. Louis is 12 right now. I mean, I feel a bit better about St. Louis right now than I do about Pittsburgh. St. Louis is in that spot of where, like, yeah, they could possibly make the playoffs, but they're also a team that, isn't going to go very far. I'd rather be in that position if I'm Crosby than a team that's like going to be the bottom of the league. Like, Pittsburgh does not, I don't know, you guys tell me if I'm wrong here, but Pittsburgh looks like a team that's like going to be picking up a high draft pick this year. Like, I don't think there's any way out of this because there's nothing like, I mean, I watch Erik Karlsson now and there's players skating, circles around him. And he's your highest paid defenseman, right? I think he is anyways. Like, you can't have that. And then combine that with guys that are overpaid that are, bottom 6 guys. Or sorry, bottom, like 4th liners. Like, look at this. Like, they've got, Noel Arciari making $2 million a season. Has he been playing up to that? No. Cody Glass, 2.5. Is he playing that? No. Kevin Hayes, 3.5. Has he been playing well to that? And look at the ages here too, guys. 37, 38, 32, 31. They barely have any players under the age of 30. So, and you got Karlsson at 9.9. Like, my God, $10 million a season for a player that clearly looks on the decline at this point. So, yeah, I wouldn't rule out. I would not rule out at all them Crosby leaving. Honestly, at this point. Calgary's interesting movement too. They're good, but they should be rebuilding. Yeah, where's Calgary now in the standings? They've come back to earth a little bit. They're 4th right now. Like, do you want to trade they would get a killer return for Rasmus Anderson or, Kadri or any of these guys, but I don't know. That's the decision they're going to have to make. I think if you're Calgary, and if the playoffs started today, or if you were nearing the playoffs today, I'd say don't trade anyone. See what happens. You never know, right? Playoffs are very unpredictable. I would stay in that spot. Now, come, playoff time, close to playoff time, if they're like in that 9-10 spot or lower, then I'd start selling. Because what's the point? Like, if you sneak in at 8, like, you're probably not going to go on any type of run. If you're 4th, though, there's a little bit more of a chance, I think. I don't know. Kadri, Feshin, nice return. Anderson, Vladar, etc. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, one of the goaltenders will probably get moved as well. Vladar getting traded just because they have Dustin Wolf, who looks pretty solid. So there we go. So yeah, that's everything going on right now. If we look, so I mentioned as well, guys, we have a new home for Jim Montgomery. He goes with the St. Louis Blues. I heard an interesting theory. Actually, we'll just show the Montgomery thing on the screen here. Jim Montgomery. So he obviously gets hired by the St. Louis Blues. Yeah, so not surprised he gets hired there. We talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago with Troy. The issue is not the coaching in Boston, in my opinion. The issue is Don Sweeney and Cam Neely have not put together a good team. And did I not say this at the beginning of the season? Elias Lindholm is not a first-line center, and he's sort of proven my point here. Zadorov is not worth $5 million a season. Like, it's funny now, I'm seeing a lot of Bruins fans being like, trade these guys. Like, it just hasn't worked out. I think the catalyst of this team, I think what it really boils down to, and granted, I thought Swayman played great last night, but despite the fact he just gave up 1 goal, right? Like, didn't play terrible or anything. I think what it boils down to is, like, Boston's best players are not playing their best. And if that's not happening, then you're not going to win. I don't think that coaching move is the solution. I think it's the easy way out. I think personally, I think Sweeney and Neely need to go. Because what are the Bruins right now? Let's talk about that. Like, they are right now they're not a playoff team. Well, actually, looking at the standings, I think they're just on the bubble, so to speak. Okay, so they're 9. So they're somewhat of a playoff team, but is this a team that's going to do any damage in the playoffs? No. They are a definition of a stuck-in-the-middle team. And if you're stuck in the middle, I think at some point, that's fine for a season or two, but I think you have to realize that if you're not going anywhere, it's time to not rebuild, but just do some sort of like big changes. And I think bringing in Lindholm and Zadorov, they thought that was going to be the big changes. Apparently not. Like, I think they've got to look elsewhere as far as other options. Also, Brad Marchand's hasn't re-signed yet. Like, something's up there. Like, you'd think their beloved captain or whatever would already have a contract at this point. Remember Elliot Friedman? I don't know if you guys remember this, had reported that the contract talks were going well and they were close. And then Marchand basically shot it down. Why would he do that? That seems so odd. So something's up there in Boston. And I think a lot of it has to do with how this team's being built. So I don't blame Jim Montgomery. But anyways, right after that happens, Montgomery gets hired by St. Louis. Drew Bannister's out. Drew Bannister was, brought back after they fired Craig Berube, right, is my understanding. So they bring him in. I think that's a great move. I think Jim Montgomery's a very good coach. I heard a theory yesterday, and you guys let me know on this, a bit of a conspiracy theory. So there's a conspiracy theory that Montgomery wanted to get fired out of Boston. And here's the reasoning, and some of it, take it for a grain of salt, but, apparently the Bruins made multiple offers to him, and he declined them. And, knowing the Bruins and how they've handled contract negotiations in the past, like look at the whole Swayman situation, would not shock me that maybe they lowballed him or didn't give him security or whatever, right? So that could have happened. And then, he has the public outburst with Marchand. I believe he scratched, Pasternak or something. Like there was some sort of rift. Like there's a theory that, Montgomery knew that he was going to get hired somewhere else anyways. And that, he wanted what, contract wise what he wanted. So he kind of knew that he was going to like he basically tried to get fired. That's the theory. Now, I don't buy completely into that, but I will say that I think Montgomery had a lot of leverage knowing what he did when he joined the Bruins and his coaching record in general. I think there was some of the, I don't care if I get fired because I'm going to get work. And how many days was it before he got hired? November 24th was when he got hired by the Blues. When did he get fired? What was the date on that? I mean, this has got to be one of the show. Yeah, it was 5 days. And then he got picked up by another team. Like, that's incredible. So, I think, like I said, my outside looking in on this is I think the Bruins need to change personnel in the manager spot as opposed to firing the coach. I mean, I think Joe Sacco, he's been with the organization for a while. I forgot Joe Sacco actually was with Colorado for a little bit there too on the coaching side, but has been with the Bruins organization for a while. If Mike Sullivan ever becomes available, I think that's a no-brainer. He goes to Boston, but I think for now they'll keep Joe Sacco and then look at their other options. Anyways, let's get to more questions here. Calgary's in, Pittsburgh needs to trade Erik Karlsson and just bite the bullet, retain salary, or a buyout. I know that sounds crazy, but look at the Canucks. They buy out OEL, and they were able to use that cap space in other ways, and it's helped with them. But who's going to take on Karlsson? You got to eliminate San Jose. You can't trade a player back to a team that you traded it to. So it's really who has cap space. It's really what? Columbus, Chicago, Anaheim. I think that's it. Like, where does he go? Who's going to take? It would have to be one of those teams that's going to try and take advantage of this bad cap situation for the league. So, what else do we have? Let's see. Let's see. Bruins lost Bergeron and they have not replaced their leader. Well, I think they thought that Lindholm was going to be that. That's the whole point. And I'm telling you, as a guy who watched Lindholm very closely after that trade with Calgary, he's not what he used to be. Their team 2 years ago was way better. I agree. Do you like the in-season tournaments or rather have that in the summer? Yeah, I'm kind of, that's a tough one. You're talking about because they're doing the Four Nations thing, right? The problem with the summer is they don't get any time off. I think players do need like extended periods off with the, the wear and tear of the schedule. I think in season is probably the way to go. But I mean, I would love to watch hockey in the summer. I wouldn't mind that at all. How would you tweak the Four Nations Cup to include more players? Missing a lot of good players from Russia, Czech, Slovakia, Denmark, etc. I agree. I don't think you do the North America versus the world. I didn't like that format. I kind of like this, but I mean, obviously I would love to have Russia in there. Like, it's crazy to me that we're not going to see Alex Ovechkin. Like, that's nuts, right? Like an international tournament without Alex Ovechkin, who's having the season he's having. And granted, he's injured right now, but yeah, I think, I don't know how you tweak it because I don't like the North America versus the world thing. Unless they did like an other team that couldn't participate. Like, why couldn't they do that actually? Although, I mean, I guess it would be a pretty stacked team because you could grab players from all those countries and make kind of like a super team. I don't know. I think you just have to keep it the way it is. I think that's the easier way to go. All right, keep the questions coming, everyone. Let's take a look at just some quick news from the NHL. I don't think there's been anything really interesting there as well. Yeah, nothing really other than Artem Zub on LTIR by Ottawa. Yeah, anyways, not a whole lot of news going on. Let's look at some of the games that are coming up tonight, and the odds courtesy of Bodog as usual. Let's go see what we got. A lot of games going on here tonight, and I'll kind of give you my bets, and we can all discuss some of the games that are going on tonight. So right now, let's have a look. Okay, starting first with the first game, starting at 7:08 Eastern, is the Minnesota Wild and the Buffalo Sabres. Sabres at home, plus money, 115. You get the Minnesota Wild at minus 135. The Wild have been playing great this season. I think they're probably the way to go. Buffalo, what did they even do in their last couple of games? I actually can't even really remember. I feel like they've sort of done like a win-loss type thing. So yeah, they beat the Sharks. No shocker there. They beat the Ducks. They beat the Kings. And then they lose to the Flyers. So, the Kings was a good win for them. The Ducks and the Sharks were kind of gimmies. I'll take the Wild right now. The Wild are, they've been solid this season. They're a team that has totally blown away my expectations. Beat the Oilers, lost to the Flames in the shootout. No big deal there. They lose to Winnipeg. Yeah, they'll be due for a win. They lost 4-1 to Winnipeg. I'm going with the Jets tonight, the Wild tonight at minus 135. Hurricanes at home against the Rangers. Rangers, again, struggling a bit right now. This is normally one I'd avoid, but Carolina's been so good this year. I think you're getting them under 2-1. I think Hurricanes are worth a stab there. Devils are big favorites against the Blues. I think they likely take it. I would look at maybe parlaying the Devils and what was the other team that was favored? The Dallas Stars. Dallas Stars should beat the Blackhawks on the road. The parlay the Stars and the Devils. I think you're going to be in good spirits there. I'm going to avoid this Bruins and Islanders game. The Bruins actually played well last night. They just faced a hot goaltender. They could face the same thing here with Shesterkin in net here. Sorokin. I always get Sorokin and Shesterkin mixed up. Who's the Islanders goaltender? Igor. Yeah, Shesterkin is the Rangers goaltender. Sorokin is the Islanders one. So yeah, they could play a hot goaltender tonight, but I think the Bruins might be worth a stab at plus money, but I'm probably just going to avoid that game altogether. The Flames and the Red Wings. Red Wings are not playing so great. Flames, though, I would probably stay away from this one as well. Flames have been very inconsistent. You got the Montreal Canadiens who played last night. They're playing the Jackets at home. Jackets have been kind of hit or miss sometimes, but I think the Jackets will probably win this at home. The Leafs are still shorthanded without Austin Matthews, although they have played really well. I'm actually avoiding this game as well. Normally, I would play the Panthers here, but the Leafs have surprised me lately, so I'll avoid that. You're getting the Canucks at minus 120. Now, look, yes, they're playing back-to-backs, but I think a good strategy this year, if you're betting, is certainly betting against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Just like I've been betting against the Oilers, that's been working out well too. Minus 120 for the Canucks. I think that's worth a stab. I'm assuming Lankinen's going to play tonight. Well, actually, he might not, because Pittsburgh hasn't been a very good team this year. We'll have to see who's starting. I think if Seelovs is starting, I'd still bet them anyways. But if Seelovs is starting, I think the Penguins are just a complete mess right now. So the Canucks should get it done. And remember, the Canucks' second game back with Brock Besser, they should be able to get that done. Remember, the last game they had was in Vancouver. That was the game where Pittsburgh was up early, and the Canucks came and scored like those 3 goals in like a minute. So Canucks have just got too much firepower. They beat them, and maybe even look at the over as well because, again, Penguins have no goaltending right now. Capitals and Lightning, another tough one here. This is another game I'm going to avoid. Maybe look at the under here. Got 2 good goaltenders right now, right? That might be worth a stab, but probably avoid that one altogether. Predators and Flyers, another game I'm going to avoid. I'm still not sold on the Predators yet. The Stars should beat the Blackhawks. Kraken and Ducks, I'll avoid that one. You got the Knights and the Avalanche. I've actually done quite well this season betting Knights as underdogs. I know they're on the road here. Colorado, I still have some questions with. You're getting the Knights at plus 137. I think that's worth a stab. I bet them, I think, last week, and they ended up coming through. The Jets over the Kings, I think, is the play there. Minus 115 works out well. And the Senators, they've been reeling a bit. They're coming off that loss, I think, to Vancouver in their last game. They're playing San Jose. San Jose's at home, but Ottawa should win this. So that's another parlay piece, I would say. You could also do Ottawa with, one of these other favored teams like Dallas, I think would be worth a stab there as well. So those are some of the plays I'm looking at tonight. A lot of action going on in the NHL. And having a quick look at the schedule going forward. Let's have a look at some of the other games coming up here that are worth keeping an eye on. So on Friday, so that's so tomorrow. Do you not have any games on? Oh, we don't have any games Thursday because of Thanksgiving. That's right. Friday, though, you get the Rangers and Flyers, like the Rangers there all day. The Wild at home against the Blackhawks. That's a sure win there as well. Hurricanes and Panthers will avoid that one. Two good teams in the East. The Canucks on the road still against the Sabres. They should win that. We'll see how they play tonight against Pittsburgh, but I can't see a reason why the Canucks would lose that. Lightning and Predators. Lightning will probably get good odds with them being on the road. Predators, I'm not sold on them. Lightning, I would take there as well. You got the Islanders and Capitals. Capitals at home, I like that. Devils should beat the Red Wings. Flames and Blues, I'll avoid that. Kings and Ducks. Kings on, again, it's a road game for the Kings, but it's same, state. So Kings, I would bet there. Kraken and Sharks, maybe bet the Kraken there. Penguins and Bruins, I'd avoid that. Golden Knights at home to the Jets, I'll avoid that one. Stars and Avalanche, we'll see there. And Utah and the Oilers, we'll see how the Oilers look, but that might be worth a spot taking Utah. Again, I've been doing very well betting against the Oilers. What other questions do we got as well? How would you tweak? Okay, no Shesterkin, no Ovechkin. It's a shame. I agree. Completely agree there. That is a huge bummer. Saw earlier that Decord might be the Canadian third goalie. Thought that would be Montembeault or Fleury, but not bad. I don't agree with that at all. Let's look at the goaltender stats for this year. I would not have Decord on there. You guys heard me a couple weeks ago. I would put Montembeault on that team just for that, just to have a wild card on the team. Honestly, if I had to pick the goalies right now, I would probably go. I think Fleury's too old. Otherwise, I'd consider him with all his accolades and stuff. I don't think Fleury's going to turn back the clock. I think you go Aiden Hill. I think you go Binnington, and I think you go Montembeault. That's how I would go with the goaltenders. And I know that's not ensuing a lot of confidence there. I would keep Stuart Skinner out of there. But if we look at goalies right now, let's look at some of the. It's funny, Canadian goaltenders takes a bit. Actually, okay, I'm looking at the wins here. What about the save percentage? Look at save percentage and goals against average. So let's look at the save percentage right now. And remember, some of this is inflated because you got certain goaltenders that aren't playing as many games. But right now, leading the way, no surprise, Connor Hellebuck, who's American. And you got Jake Ottinger, who's also American. Not good. Markstrom, obviously. So you got Kevin Lankinen, that's for Finland. So yeah, Decord's save percentage is actually not too bad. What about the goals against average? Let's look at that too. Where's Decord there? Decord is 14th in the league. But again, you've got goaltenders here like Joseph Wall, who's played 7 games. So he's a little bit lower. Maybe you throw Decord in there. Yeah, it's tough, man. There's no real good answer for which way they're going to go with the goaltenders, right? And if we look at wins, right? I mean, Hellebuck's leading the way. But you're right, Decord with 10 wins on a Seattle team that's kind of subpar. Okay, maybe I take that back a bit. Do you go Decor, Hill, and Binnington then? Maybe you don't use Montembeault? I don't know. I just like the potential of Montembeault, right? And I think that could pay off if you got some struggling goaltenders in the Four Nations Cup. But yeah, I don't know. That's an iffy one here. What do you guys think? You let me know your goaltenders in the chat. But now that I'm looking at the actual stats, I mean, it might not be bad. And how old is Decord? I think he's 27? You want a bit of youth there, right? He's 28. Actually, hold on. Decord is Decord's American. Sorry. Did he grow up in Canada? How would he be eligible, or does he have dual citizenship? Oh, Swiss Canadian American. Swiss Canadian American. Oh, so he's born in the U.S. Where's North Daver High School? Massachusetts. Okay, so he must have Canadian citizenship. Is he even being considered? I guess he is because he's Canadian. Well, that's an interesting one. I didn't even think of Joey Decord. Well, maybe you do take him with that said. I don't know. That's an iffy one. What do you guys think? What's your favorite NHL tournament? I love the World Juniors. Yes, absolutely love the World Juniors as well. That's great. Marner's really stepped up for the Leafs during Matthews' hiatus, but he usually does that in the regular season. They should re-sign him. I'm going to disagree here. And the reason I'm going to disagree is because I think that you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again with that core. I think they need to shake it up. Now, is anyone going to take Marner? I'm sure someone would, but I don't think it would be the worst idea to get rid of him, just to shake up that core. I think the core does not work. I think because it's not like you can point to goaltending was the issue or this was the issue. I think what it boils down to is I think this core can't get it done. So, if anything, if Marner's playing well, that'll up his trade value, trade him somewhere else. In history, who's your favorite play-by-play team? Great question. Cole and Neil for me. I'd have to have them up there as well. I'm a big Jim Houston fan as well. What else? I think I like Chris Cuthbert like before. I think Chris Cuthbert's lost a step for sure. He's not what he used to be. He's just a lot slower. The way he describes things now. And I like John Shorthouse as well, being from Vancouver. But yeah, Cole and Neal is a great tandem. What about Logan Thompson? That's another name too they mentioned as well. What's Thompson doing this season, goaltending wise? Where's he listed here? Logan Thompson. Is he even in like the top 20 here? Let's look at save percentage. That's what I like looking at. Logan Thompson. I don't think he's played that many games. That's the issue. He's played 11 games. He's 917 save percentage. So he's 18th in the league for that. What about goals against average? Where does he rank? Logan Thompson's 19th. Maybe. Big decisions to make. Big decisions. Keep hearing the Leafs are close to getting Crosby. No. I doubt it. I doubt they're close to getting Crosby. Like, what would they give up? Do they trade Marner? I don't know. I don't think that would be a very good idea. I mean, the thing you'd get with Crosby, though, is you get a killer playoff performer and a good leader in the room. But you just made Matthews his captain. So whose team is it, right? Like, I can't imagine Crosby being an assistant captain on any team. So I don't know. There's a lot of things to think about. So, yeah, very, very interesting. Throw Blackwood in there. Mackenzie Blackwood? Where's he this season? I don't think he's playing that well, though. And granted, he's not one of the worst teams in the league, but where's Blackwood? Let's look on here. Blackwood is currently 46th with a save percentage, or with a goals against average of 3.07, which is not good. Where does he fit save percentage wise? He's 30th. No, I don't think that's going to cut it. LeBron saying Canadian national team is looking into Decord's eligibility. Well, I think you have to. Isn't it crazy though? Like it's when I was a kid, like you could have made like 3 Canadian teams with like solid goaltenders. Now it's like slim pickings. What happened? Where did they all fall off? I think part of it is, I think goaltending, a lot of kids don't want to play goaltender. And 2, I think it's just really expensive to be a goaltender these days. The different camps and all that different stuff. But that's not good. They got to do something about that. And it starts on the minor level. Like even my kid's hockey team, he's U9, under 9. He is, we just rotate goaltenders, but there's no like dedicated goaltender on our team. So that's a problem. US has definitely done a better job, developing goaltenders for sure. So yeah, what are some Four Nations projected rosters? Let's see. Okay, here's one from November. Let's have a look here. This was done on November 1st. I don't think this is the one we looked at last time, but let's have a look anyways. Okay, right now on Team Canada, Zach Hyman, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Lafreniere. Interesting, Lafreniere makes it, although he's been playing well. Braden Point, Mitch Marner, Brad Marchand, Sidney Crosby, Sam Reinhart, Connor Bedard, Nick Suzuki, and Mark Stone. And then you have Steven Stamkos as your extra. Yeah, that could work. And then what about on defense? You'd have Devin Taves, Cale Makar, Noah Dobson. I don't know about Bouchard back there. Shea Theodore, Petrolangelo, Mackenzie Weegar. And then who are some other names? Josh Morency. Chris Letang shouldn't be on there. Darnell Nurse, no. Aaron Beckblad. I would put Dougie Hamilton in over Bouchard personally. And then they have Jordan Binnington, Aiden Hill, and Logan Thompson. That makes sense. You can skip Team Finland, Team Sweden. Oh, okay. So they got different players or different people from this thing. Now let's look at some more. See if we got some other ones. This one's from November 3rd. This one's going to look a little bit different. They have Barzell on here. I don't think he was on that other list. Brad Marchand. I think you need Marchand just as like a pest. That makes sense. Crosby's got to be on there. Bedard. But Bedard hasn't been playing that well this season either, although I think you do keep him on just in case. Scheifele, yeah, I would put him on there. I don't think he was on the other list. Braden Point. They have Lafreniere on there as well. Mark Stone should be on there too. Bouchard, Dobson. Forgot about Noah Dobson. Morency, I think, should be on there. Morrissey, sorry, not Morency. Devin Taves, Cale Makar. And then Binnington, Montembeault, Stuart Skinner. See, I would not put Skinner on there. I would put Aiden Hill in his place. But I like the Montembeault pick. Glad people are on that train. I'm liking Montembeault these days. And let's look at one more. This is November 4th. Let's see what projected one they have here. It's from Kristen Schillen. They have a full lineup below. Can we read that, or we have to do the whole, got to read each forward and defense? Let's see here. So they have Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon. Ryan O'Reilly would be an excellent option. I don't think he makes it. Shifley, I think, makes sense. Braden Point, Mitch Marner, Sam Reinhart. Zach Hyman. Marshawn Stone. Cale Makar, Devin Taves. Goaltenders, Jordan Binnington, Aiden Hill. Stuart Skinner. Yeah, I'd put Monbo over Skinner, personally. Even the junior teams, the goalies have been tandems for a while. I agree. Long guns is the gate. Brodeur, Waugh, Belfort, Cujo, Luongo, Carey Price. Like, yeah, it's crazy how much things have changed there. It's been pretty nutty that way. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Like I said, I think, and you guys let me know in the chat here, I think you bring a Montembeault just for that like unknown factor, you know, just to see if there's something that can be done, right? Like something just like total wild card. And then, like I said, Hill's won a cup a little bit more recently. He is Vegas' starter. I mean, Vegas essentially chose him over Logan Thompson, so I almost feel like Hill's got to be on there. So Hill and Montembeault for sure, and then it's just that other spot. I think Fleury's too old. He's 41. I mean, what are Fleury's stats even right now? I want to say he's like regressed every year, right? Let's look at his stats right now. That's a big question. So Fleury he's 39, okay, not 40. But you look at the games, played 46, 2.85 save percentage, or goals against average, 908 save percentage. So save percentage is, hasn't been so great. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough sell. Just 5 games this year too. Like, do you want to put a guy that's played so little? And granted, Gustafson's been basically he's taken the number 1 spot over. But I mean, if Minnesota can't even trust Fleury to play, he's played 5 games this entire season. Are you going to trust him to play for Team Canada? I don't know. I would not have him on there. I know that I know people may disagree with this. I would rather have Binnington than Fleury, just because at least Binnington's a starter. And granted, that's more to do with that's more to do with the fact that Minnesota has a guy like Gustafsson they can play. So he's 31. He's 8 years younger, and already played 17 games. His save percentage is even lower than Fleury's, but yeah, 3.04. Those aren't good numbers. What about last season? The last season he played okay. 9.13, 2.84. He played 57 games. At least he can handle the workload, right? Like, yeah. Although look at these numbers. Went from 927 to 912, 910, 901, 894, and then did bounce back a little bit last season. So it's iffy, but right now I'd go Binnington over Fleury, personally. We'll see. You got to start getting the young guys done, international experience in the future. I agree. Yeah, like the World Championships. If I'm Sam Montembeault, I mean, Montreal most likely not going to, I mean, I think it's almost a given that Montreal's not going to make the playoffs. Get in, get in a guy like Montembeault there to be the starter. Actually, Binnington played last year in the World Championships. Didn't play so well. So, there we go. Very interesting. Let me know any other surprises for you guys as well. By the way, if you guys are just tuning in, we talked a little bit about the New York Rangers and should they make any sort of moves. I say no. I think the Rangers will ride the ship. Again, they're 5th right now. The concern there is the home record, 5-4-1. That's not going to get it done. They got to work on that a little bit. But again, goal differential plus 12. No reason to start panicking. I think there's just high expectations for New York. It's like cup or bust for that team, but I would not make a move if I was the Rangers right now. I think they're in good hands. What else we got, guys? We'll do about another, 5-10 minutes here on the show. Again, just looking at some of the games here tonight. Like I said, Minnesota, Buffalo. I'm liking Minnesota there. The Rangers, Hurricanes. I mean, here would be a great opportunity for the Rangers to prove people wrong and not make any moves, is they can beat the Hurricanes. Hurricanes have looked great this season. Also, something Carolina related, and I agree with this. I heard people talking about the Nashville Predators and their struggles this year, and Brady Shea has not worked out very well for Nashville. He's played a little bit better as of late, but I think it just goes to show that Carolina's got a pretty good system for certain players, and I think Shea not playing as well in Nashville as he did in Carolina has a lot to do with the system they play. So I think Carolina's kind of got them, the secret sauce, so to speak, if you're playing there. That's why we see guys like Brent Burns, who, a lot of people felt like maybe he wouldn't progress very well in Carolina, and he's actually played quite well. Give credit to USA Hockey, though. Their development is incredible. I agree, but I think there's more resources and more money. Well, I wouldn't even say more money, but I think they've really caught up. But, I mean, Americans were even good when I was younger, too. I mean, you had look at their goaltenders back in the day. They had Jonathan Quick, Mike Richter. were some other goalies back in the day for Team USA? Actually, you know what? Let me go look that up. I'm trying to even remember. So Team USA Hockey DB. Team USA Hockey. Do they not? Actually, maybe they don't have Team USA there as well, but Team USA Hockey Wiki. Do they have old teams from there? (2002) Salt Lake City. Who's on that team? Looking back. They're not have their players listed, or they just have the results? Who's on that roster? Oh, that's why, because we're just on the men's tournament. Mike Richter, Phil Housley, Brett Hull, John LeClaire, Mike Modano. That was a good team. What else? Do you think the Canucks will look for goaltending help? Demko is such a question mark, unfortunately. I think they have the goaltending help. I've said this before. Re-sign Kevin Lankinen right now. Sign him to a multi-year contract. Like, you could probably fetch a really good return for Lankinen right now anyways, but like, he's playing well in the system. Like, it seems like he's, and granted, I think, another thing I'll credit the Canucks for last night in that win over the Bruins is I think they played well defensively, and that led to Lankinen playing quite well, right? So, I think, I think I would, well, I mean, they're going to keep Lankinen regardless, because you can put Seelovs in the minors and there's no waivers, right? So I would hold on to Lankinen beyond this season. I think it's been a great fit for them. 2-year contract just to see how Demko goes. And when's Demko's contract up? In a couple of years? Like, I have some concerns, guys. I do, of whether he's going to look anything close to what he's used to, because what we're hearing, what's out there right now, is that Demko's basically having to play through this injury, and that it's something they can't fix, is my understanding. I don't know if that narrative's changed at all. But if you look at Demko and we look at the contract, he's under contract for a couple more seasons. Granted, an amazing cap hit. Oh, so he's only 2 more seasons. I would do that then. I would do Lankinen. I don't even mind paying Lankinen like, a couple $1 million and move another player out. But like, you get Demko for this season and next season. He's 28. We'll have to see how he plays, but I would hold on to Lankinen a couple more seasons and have that tandem just in case Demko doesn't work out. Because what if he comes back and he's never the same and he doesn't play well? You've got him on the hook for another season. I would like to keep Lankinen personally. I think he's fit well. And I don't know, like, if you can find another Lankinen. Because here's the thing. Canucks had this problem in the offseason. It was Lankinen and, like, no one else. Like, there was other goaltenders out there. Like, I'm trying to even think who was, like, a free agent. You had, like, a James Reimer. You had, like, there were other options. But, like, Lankinen, I remember just people thinking, like, he was the clear-cut option. And he wanted to play in Vancouver. I think he knew as well that, like, that was a good fit for him. So if it ain't broken, don't try and fix it. Like, I would keep Lankinen beyond the season personally, just as insurance, and sign him to a 2-year contract. And then hopefully by the time, Seelovs gets, the amount of reps and he's better, then you can move on from him and Seelovs is the guy, and then they can move forward without Demko. But I'm at the point right now where, like, I know this sounds terrible because I appreciate everything that Demko's done for the Canucks and I think he's an amazing player, but I'm at the point now with Demko, like, I don't know if the Canucks, like, unless he comes back and there's no issues, but I think you got to worry about Demko being injury prone going forward, just because I think he's played, like, he's hurt, his body's worn down too much. And how many goaltenders, like, you look at like a Bobrovsky, right? Like, how old's Bobrovsky right now? When did he sign that contract with Florida? Like, I feel like he was close to his 30s when he signed his deal with Florida. And like, it's been, granted, he won a cup last year, but it wasn't smooth sailing. So yeah, same thing. Like, he's 36. It's definitely the same situation, where you got a guy, and granted, Bobrovsky was an injury, so it was just more of like, it was just like, was it smart to sign someone that long? That's basically what it comes down to. So, very interesting decisions there for the Canucks going forward. Van Briesbroek was good, that he was. Do you know what the injury is? Knee. It's some sort of, let me find out the exact name of it. What's it called? It's some weird name. Torn prolitis. Here. We've got it here. You guys can read here. Not a doctor, obviously. That's why I'm doing this. But if you go read right now, torn popliteus muscle in his knee, something which has rarely been encountered in sports, particularly in hockey. That's what I mean. It's a wild card right now. Like, the Canucks, let's be honest, I don't think any team has been luckier with having good goaltending than the Canucks have. Because when I was growing up, again, the Canucks had a goalie graveyard. Basically, after Kirk McLean, it was like Dan Cloutier and Kevin Weeks and, Grant Snow, Garth Snow, sorry, not Grant Snow. Yeah. And ever since basically Luongo, it's been the Canucks have had this basically since Luongo. It's been Luongo, Markstrom, Demko, now Lankinen. Like they've had it pretty good. I got the Bolts tonight. The Bolts are playing. Who are they playing tonight again? They are playing they're playing the Capitals. Capitals are good though, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully for Vancouver, Lankinen is the next Kiprusoff. I don't know about that, but I think he's solid enough that you keep him beyond this season. It was smart if they won a cup, you say, and he was a huge part of that first cup in Panthers history. Talking about Van Beesbrook? Oh, no. Oh, sorry. You're talking about Bobrovsky. Yeah, but he almost blew it too. I mean, yes, they won a cup, but they also let the Oilers get back in there. Remember, the Oilers were like a goal or two away from winning the cup, you know? And that was a result of Bobrovsky just playing like absolute crap. So that's what I mean. Like, you know, Adin Hill, same thing. Like Adin Hill was not an amazing goaltender. He still isn't an amazing goaltender, but they won a cup with him. He did enough to get it done. This is not like a Dominik Hasek, or it's not like a Vasilevsky or some of these other goaltenders that have had years of like basically stealing games for their teams. Like I'd say Bobrovsky had a good run last season, but I mean, he almost blew it as well. So I don't know. To say he was a huge part of that, yeah, maybe to get there, but he also blew it for them in the finals as well. Did bringing Demko back last playoffs, that one game, make the injury worse? We'll never know. I don't know the answer to that. I really don't at this point. Bob carried him the year before, though. Okay, but overall, prior to that, he wasn't even the starter. He was considered one of the worst contracts in the league. So it's like he got hot at the right time, but I think, you know, looking back, was it the right move? It worked out for them, but there was a lot of panic as well for $10 million. You know what I mean? Like they did end up winning the cup, but it's an iffy one. I don't know. I don't think that's such a clear cut argument like you're making it out to be. Because again, he had some struggles. He definitely had some struggles there for sure. I think it was more his fault that they almost blew the lead. More than his fault they almost blew the lead. I don't know though. Like we'd have to go back and look at those games. I'd have to look at the shots and all the different stuff. I mean, there's certainly some games that was the case, but there were also games where the goaltending was just brutal. It's like Stuart Skinner. There's a good example. Would you say that Stuart Skinner was the reason that the Oilers got to the finals? I'd say no. Stuart Skinner had good games, but overall, was he good? No. I think with Bobrovsky, was he overall good? I would say yes, but he also blew it for them as well. I think the Bobrovsky thing's a very unique case. I can't just sit there and say he's the reason they won the cup. He's also the reason they almost lost the cup too. So it's a little bit of a tough one. All right, guys, I got to hop over to my other stream right now. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Keep an eye out for some hockey interviews on this channel. I mentioned this off the top. Did get some hockey interviews possibly confirmed for Friday. So keep an eye on this channel. I haven't done too many hockey interviews in my life, so I'm really excited about this one. So keep an eye out for that, guys. I'll be back next Wednesday talking some more hockey with you guys. Again, if I missed your question, leave a comment here as well. I'll see you guys on my next stream. Like I said, on my other channel, Lynch on Life. Go check that out. I'll be over there in about a couple minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed this stream. Really appreciate you tuning in. This is a Fanatics View Hockey Show. Also, I'll probably get Troy on the show next week. We'll have another guest. That always makes the show go a little bit faster. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you guys next week.